All right, thanks. Glad I could try to be here today and give a little insights into our journey at our school. For me, it really came down to years ago. I volunteered in some classrooms and passion, and I saw the need and how fun it was. And when I was a student, I think we all had those teachers along the way who made huge impacts on us. And the same is true for myself. So this presentation really is focused on empowering, and I'll hit on that again here in just a second. But for all of us, for yourselves, I mean, why did you choose this profession? And did it choose you? Was it something that was a natural fit from the beginning and you just felt like it was there the whole time? And that goes back to skills and passion. Financial security, I'm sure, as an educator, as those big bucks brought you in, made you want to be a part of. And or wasn't something a family or friend or an advisor saw that you just had a great way of connecting with students and children and were able to help them. Um, I put extensive research in here because it really is kind of gets to the heart of project discovery of um, being able to learn about careers before you just jump into them. And I know that's a big emphasis in a lot of colleges now, to go out and get internship opportunities, to go get practicum type things, to go get experience in the field before you leave with a degree and then you don't know if you really want to do it or not. Or is it something else? And so it always kind of comes back to why did you end up in this? And there's a great quote from Thomas Friedman. He wrote When the World is Flat. Book is over 20 years old now, but curiosity plus passion is greater than IQ. And if you can find somebody who's curious and passionate about something, they will run with it for the rest of their lives. And that's, I think, what a lot of project discovery has the opportunity to do with students. Hopefully, it can ignite that passion and that curiosity that they will want to continue on. So today, the biggest thing of, we have listed objectives. The biggest thing, and I'm gonna kind of tell our story at Kentucky School for the Blind, where we've been, where we're at right now, and how we kind of came to start using project discovery materials. So we have been around for a very long time, over 180 years. It is really, I've been here 8 years. The school is the third oldest in the country for serving blind and visually impaired students. It is truly an institution. We are the clearinghouse and try to be for blind and visually impaired services for students in the state of Kentucky. Our mission and our vision, that vision guides all of our decisions. It has to. Empowering students to command their future. And it goes back to that word empowering. And when I was meeting with the folks from Education Associates, we were talking about what do you want to title it, things like that. Empowering is such a meaningful word, but it carries more than just a phrase, because if you really live it and you try to have kids own it and they control where they want to be able to go. And we do see a lot of even building on our past successes and being able to take it even further with Project Discovery. Our demographics, we've been pretty stable over the years. We've stayed around upper 60s to 70 students. Obviously, we wear a lot of hats at a small school. So myself, I think my counselor, our counselor here at school, she might be on this meeting also. But we have a small admin team, a really awesome group of teachers. We do have dorms on campus, and so that's why our classified staff is so high. And we serve all of our students have IEPs and either visual impairment or blindness. We focus on K through 12 education. We offer a variety of different programs. And the dorm, like I mentioned, is a key piece because we do serve students across the Commonwealth of Kentucky, not the state, the Commonwealth. So we do serve them across the whole Commonwealth. And we have students come in on Sunday evenings. They leave Friday midday to go back home if they're staying in the dorm. But we do offer that for our kids so that they can be here and get those services they might not be able to get in their home districts. Our outreach program is pretty substantial. We have TVIs, teachers of visually impaired, who work across the state supporting families and fellow TVIs out in the state, trying to provide those services for students and for those classroom teachers. Enrollment trends. We've been stable in our numbers over my entire time here. We've actually grown some, but the biggest thing is the shift in our numbers going more towards moderate and severe disability students, or MSD. There's a few reasons for this that we can see, and this seems to be a common trend across schools for the blind across the country. And that a few of those reasons are there's more TVIs, or teacher visually impaired, in home districts. More getting training and certified, staying in their home district and working there with students. So students don't have to travel off to another school. Honestly, technology helps bridge that gap some too. So with proper supports in a classroom, in their home schools, and some technology, it helps. But why so many more students considered MSD growing in schools? Part of it is more preemies are surviving. And a lot of times when those preemies do survive, they might have a visual impairment, but they have additional disabilities on top of that. And that seems to be the biggest part of the population that's growing for us, and especially younger students who are MSD. But that's been our change, even in my 8 years here, that we've moved towards. And so the work program as we've had it, which I'm going to talk about in just a second, might not meet the needs of all those kids now. And so it is about us trying to find different ways to help those kids find that plan for where they're going to go in the future. We follow the same curriculum as same standards, same assessment, same testing as everybody else in the state of Kentucky. We are actually doing ACT testing next week with our juniors. That last part on there, and I'm sure my friends at California school who had registered in, it's not something new to them, but new for a lot of other people, is that expanded core curriculum, or the ECC curriculum. And that's something that we're able to really emphasize here that a traditional school might not be able to. And so when you think about the ECC curriculum, or expanded core curriculum, there are 9 areas that hits on. And these are areas that you think about incidental learning that might occur for students. Some of this goes back to that, is if you were growing up as a child and your parents said, set the table, you knew how to set the table because you'd seen them do it. Not all students have that ability they were able to see it and just learn by watching. So these are the 9 areas: compensatory skills, which are going to be more focused on academic, sensory efficiency, orientation, mobility. We have 3 O&M staff members that work with our students. Self-determination, which I think really ties in nicely with project discovery. Of course, career ed. Assistive technology, which is another piece. We do have 1 AT teacher here on campus, and all of our staff are trained in using and trying to build upon that. I'll hit more on that in a second. Independent living skills, which Dorm really focuses on. Recreation and leisure. We do have sports teams and other activities after school. And then those social skills part, that life skills section of project discovery does a lot with the social skills. And so there's a lot of natural fits with what project discovery offers and how it can benefit students. Some things that we have to always try to take into consideration, that's what this next little set of slides are, really are just looking at what do we need to be thinking about. And so understanding what the needs are of students, that might be done through a functional visual assessment, and trying to match what they might need. Key considerations: make sure it's ADA. Also, websites, understand not all websites are accessible. I'm going to talk a second about screen readers. Not all sites can actually handle that, or even provide, and sometimes they're quite confusing, of trying to navigate a website just using screen readers. And then the either low vision, total blindness, or color blindness might be their visual impairment. Text-based, different things when we order materials for testing or things like that, or we create things in class. Large print, Veranda is great. 18 plus, really kind of depends on the kid. Braille and tactile graphics. And then text to speech. If you have an iPhone, you might not be aware, but VoiceOver is just that. And you can actually have VoiceOver operate as a text to speech tool that you have probably carrying around that you never knew. Digital accessibility. The main thing I'm going to point out on this part is PDF files. They're not always, or usually not at all, friendly for screen readers. So we really stay away from PDF type files. Everything we try to move into Word or some other source to make it much more accessible to students. Visual content adaptations, do a lot of times it's that providing those verbal descriptions of images and diagrams. That's a piece that I know as our students have worked with Project Discovery, they've had some frustration with, just because there isn't necessarily always laid out what and how something should be described. But that's why our teachers are there, and the teachers are the ones who then can give those descriptions. Classroom strategies, I think, not as much at our school, but I'm thinking like a typical classroom who might have a student with a visual impairment. A lot of times when they come to us, they'll say, well, the teacher just read everything out loud to us. Everything was just told to us. But the best things you can do, yes, you want to verbalize, but also provide those hands-on things, provide the media as they might need it, and then extra time for any assignments. And the last little piece I'm going to hit on is that assistive technology piece. Braille displays and note takers. This goes back to like refreshable Braille displays, which are amazing tools. It actually has little pins and it brailles in sets of 6 dots, and there's a whole row of them, and they come up and down. They will change what the letters and words are as you read across. Another new tool that's out that we're the first school in the country to be able to get our hands on them. Our next door neighbor is American Printing House for the Blind. They're one of the world leaders in producing materials. They have the Monarch, which is almost like it's the size of an iPad, but the whole surface, the whole top part is refreshable Braille. So you can have graphs and other things like that the pins will pop up and the students can feel what those graphs are. You can always, try to make those to make them on a paper type, but this is much quicker. So magnification tools, CCTVs, and audiobooks, other types of ways. So where are we at? We know there's always room for improvement. And that's kind of why I put this little quote up here. We want to get better, and we see Project Discovery as a tool that will help us to do that. So currently, during the school year, we have a work program. We have students that once they're over 16, but usually once they enter high school, they start taking career exploration and start working on soft skills, the life skill parts of this curriculum. We've had them working at Walgreens, McDonald's, Kroger's, another place, APH, which is next door, our charitable foundation, and other businesses and things locally. They are paid through the Office of Vocational Rehab. It's been somewhat successful, but it hasn't been as successful as we would like. And I think some of that is that expectation gap between the students, the parents, the employer, and us. Oftentimes, a student will get into a job, and let's say they go to work at Kroger, and Kroger's a grocery store chain, and they're going to be a bagger, getting carts, possibly putting things on shelves. They might not have had any real experience or practice with it at all. It's like a first job type thing for most students, but Project Discovery can help kind of fill in that gap to kind of get them there. Accountability. Sometimes it's the first time that student has had to follow through with, if I'm not going to show up to work, I got to let people know. And then making sure we keep that parent support there. We're hoping, we feel that this is going to really help us continue to define what our work job program is during the school year and improve upon it. Our summer work program involves students from across the Commonwealth. They come in, they will usually get lessons in the morning on job skills. It might be creating resumes, it might be interview skills, it might be different things like that. And then where typically places we've had them working is the Louisville Zoo, Kentucky Kingdom, which is like an amusement park, and some of them also working in American Printing House for the Blind. Those APH jobs are really great jobs because that truly is like an after high school employer that would provide a career going forward for a lot of kids. One of our challenges with this program is funding. It just is a natural part of it. We would love to always include more kids, excuse me, but we sometimes run short. So how do we end up with Project Discovery? We knew that we wanted to try to improve. We wanted to try to get better at working with our students. We have a couple of retirements that we know are coming. We have one teacher on staff who had been a student here, graduated from here. He has been kind of the main tip of the spear for our jobs program for years. And we know he's going to retire at some point. So we knew we needed to have some things in place that were going to provide structure once he's gone. He can share all he wants about what he's done and how he's laid things out. But once he walks out the door, some of that knowledge walks with him. So we had seen project discovery items at conferences and things like that. We liked it. We thought well of it, but it always came back to funding. Do we have money to be able to go purchase this and be able to get enough for everybody? And just about a year ago, Kentucky Department of Education came to us and said, that's who we're directly under Kentucky Department of Education, and they came to us and they said, well, you also have some ESSER funds, some of that COVID money available, and it's sitting there. How would you all like to use it? We went, well, we'd love to get something in career ed. And so some folks at KDE started working. They started seeing, I really didn't know how much money we had, but they started looking at what we could potentially purchase. And well, we purchased a lot. Everybody got a kit. When I spoke to the folks afterwards through Education Associates, they were like, yeah, you guys bought everything. And so for us, it was overwhelming. I knew it was in the process of being purchased. I didn't know where exactly, how much funds had been transferred or anything else like that. And I showed up one morning to work and I had an email and it said that a delivery was going to be made tomorrow and it was sent the day before. And that delivery was 14 pallets of material stacked pretty high. So I knew for a fact, and especially go back to my time working in a large district with a lot of different schools and helping teachers implement a literacy program, that if you don't have things organized from the beginning, it's not going to get used, no matter the quality of the materials or how much people are excited about it. So what we did is we kind of took our time and overtook a classroom that wasn't being used, and we organized everything. This is just a couple quick snapshots. We organized it by there's different levels within the materials. There's like adapted, there's advanced. So we organized it by that, but also we organized it alphabetically and really tried to make it super easy for teachers to be able to get their hands on and use. So that was the first step. Let's just see what all we have, get it organized, have it ready to be able to get used in some way. We also made sure to kind of limit access. I have one key and for the materials, and there's only one other key exists because there's a lot there. And we want this to stay around for years to come with our students. We also did an online checkout system. So if teachers are going to check something out, there's a way they can go through me, they get the key, they do an online checkout, we go from there. Probably one of the bigger parts though is we've purchased so much. We created a Google Doc, very simple one, that we just put which students have done which kits in what school year. Because we have kids currently in middle school that by the time they get to high school, we don't necessarily want to repeat a kit when they get in high school, but this will be something we can look back and see who has done what kits along the way. After we kind of got some of the basic things set up, we met with a group of teachers that we could see would be our first ones using it this school year. We met with them last spring. The lesson plans are in like little DVD cases on a thumb drive. We went over kind of what we were thinking, what the layout would look like, and how we might schedule it in the day. And then we went down and they were each able to get one or two of those little DVD cases with a thumb drive to see what the lessons look like, just to start acclimating themselves a little bit to it. I'll go over a little bit more in a second how we kind of divided things up. So the way we've set it up is we're actually using it elementary through high school. Elementary is just focusing on project discovery, which is more of careers, jobs, learning about all these different jobs that exist like at a bank or other places. They do it as part of their rotation. They library, PE, adaptive PE, or music. So that's how they kind of rotate through. And then middle and high, they're using Job Ready and Life Ready. We have a Life Ready session with our middle schoolers as part of their class rotation. So they'll do a Life Ready lesson, either music or adaptive PE, and they do it for a set period of time for so many days. And then the job ready kits in high school, it is a set class for some of our students. That one teacher who has been here a long time, is an alum of here. He's the one that has really picked up and using those life ready lessons with his students. And, he had developed a lot of lessons himself over the years. And he was the first one I went to and said, "Here, I want you to look at this, see what do you think?" And his biggest takeaway was it does everything I did in the past to a new level and is way more organized and has an assessment with it. So he had spent 20 plus years in education building all these lessons, and this was a pick up, grab it, and go, and had everything there. And then middle and high, they also do the job ready kits, and they kind of explore what different jobs are and things like that that are available for them to do. The entire staff then took part in training in August. Kind of hitting on that same theme again. Concern is always how easy is this to pick up and me to use? School starts in a week, and do I have to learn a whole new curriculum? The lessons and the materials are laid out exceptionally well, and it's one of those things. It really is a pick it up and go. It really spells things out well. I think the biggest challenge, at least for us, which I shouldn't complain, but it was picking what kit they were going to use. I know we had been in touch with South Carolina School for the Blind. They had these kits also, but they had a handful of them, so they were kind of limited on, oh, we're going to do this one or this one. They didn't have much of a choice. We have a whole room, and so it was really trying to decide which ones were going to be the most beneficial to students. So now we get to what really matters, and that's the kids and what they're doing with it, how they're using it. This was a little quiz a teacher was doing in class, and instead of it being a written quiz, it was just hold up a finger for what you think the answer is going to be, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And so it's just a little quickie quiz they were doing in class. These are some of the kits that we've done up to this point. I understand we started in August, so this is our first year using the program. Accessibility, biggest things our staff have had to do is creating Braille, UEB Braille, sometimes large print, and then also giving audio descriptions of videos as needed or handouts as needed. That verbal discussion is a big part of it, but that extra piece of describing things as they were there. What students have said. So you always want to know what the kids are kind of thinking about something, what they like. I love on this one of our kids talking about a tour guide, and they didn't really think of that necessarily as what something that could be a career. Then one of our other students saying, "Well, I really haven't eaten very healthy so far today." And that part about, I think that was one of the table service ones they did. And then it was talking about proper nutrition. So it tied in with other areas real naturally. Some of our other comments from students, it goes beyond the school content. This is not something I would have learned other places. The last quote, I like the table service kit. I didn't know how much was involved in going out to eat. How many different jobs are there for people when you go to a restaurant to eat? They'd been in restaurants, they had gone, but without having vision to be able to see all these different jobs that might take place within a restaurant, it was something that they just weren't really aware of. And it kind of goes back to that incidental learning piece again. Some of the feedback of areas of growth that the kids brought up, maybe more can be done with basic cooking. We do a good amount with cooking, but sometimes I think it assumes some pieces with the cooking that our kids weren't quite there yet. But that's something our teachers can kind of bridge the gap. And then, of course, that piece about where sometimes on the assessments, it'll bring up questions like which of these candidates is dressed appropriately for a job interview. The teacher can describe it, but the kids were like, oh, it'd be great if they already had that written out in some way, as opposed to the teacher having to describe it. The teacher feedback. I think that middle quote's probably the biggest one. It's very complete and comprehensive. It really is a great set of tools and everything that we can use with our students. I see it having a lot of strength going forward for our kids. So going forward, what are we looking at? We are putting a line item in our charitable foundation grant. That way we can replenish some of those materials and items that we use along the way. And then also to try to bring in people that work in that field. When they did the animal care kit, they were thinking about let's try to bring a veterinarian in. Food services, they were able to talk to our cafeteria lead. and be able to work with her some. So it's maybe not, these are at least at this point, some of that next steps. Um, I think going forward also, it's, the kids gain in depth and understanding. This first year, I think we are just in some of those more basic beginner type kits. But as kids start really latching on and we're going to start moving more towards person-centered learning, which is kids kind of finding their passion and coming up with a plan of how they want to get there. I can see those kids kind of falling in with that much more often. And that's all I have on that. So anything
Oh,
else
oh
to
my goodness, that was an awful lot. It really was. Just taking notes here on so many things because sometimes it's that little practical insight of how you organize things that
Mhm.
becomes really the trick. So thank you so much for that. And what do I hear from your teachers? What are their kind of responses to some of the content that they've been using and working with?
I think some of it is would they have gone and done something like an animal care kit with our students if this wasn't there? No. Would they have done a table service unit? Probably not. And so, if anything, it's expanding the range of what our teachers are bringing to the kids, because it's there, it's ready to go. We've done very small amounts with career ed and like middle school up to this point. But I think it's going to be neat seeing where this grows going forward. Because this is just year one, and where that you're doing those first units, and yes, everything can be laid out exceptionally well, but
Mhm.
it's still some learning of how to
Mm.
do it, how to manage. We take about 3 weeks per kit, 3 to 4 weeks. So that's, kids will get about a kid a month for a
Uh-huh.
career area.
Okay.
And so sometimes a little bit longer, but I can see, especially when we get into some of the more complex items and areas, it's going to take longer.
Mm.
But right now, that's
Absolutely.
roughly our pacing, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I saw some questions
Mhm.
pop up, but I can't see them right now.
Yep. I'll send them on over to you. We have one question here from Quartas. How do you modify materials for visually impaired? And they also ask, where do you decide to start with the lessons?
Okay.
Um,
So the kits, as far as what's modified, the materials on the thumb drive,
Mhm,
sometimes what we end up doing is flipping that into Word. And then if it has to be a quick turnaround, you put it in Braille Blaster or something like that, or
mhm,
Duxbury. And what it'll do, it'll flip it into Braille. If not, it is literally going in and creating the Braille.
mhm,
Large print's easy. That's just getting on your copy machine on 11 by 17 paper. I think put it to 129% and boom, you got bigger.
mhm,
Um, the but that's the main sort of modifications. There has been some tactile, like raised line type drawings people have done for things. We have some
mhm,
machines here on campus that'll do that. The Where do we start? I think the biggest thing was, which kit do we start with?
Mm.
mm,
And I know start of the year, we didn't try to start the kits day one. We talked to the teachers, talked to the kids about it, what we were going to be doing, and then gave them like 5 options and said,
Mm.
"What do y'all want to start with?"
right.
Teacher might have had a passion for one area, but then the kids, they picked up, "Oh, I want to do this one." Animal
Mhm,
care was big right from the jump, and
mhm,
so they did an animal care one. And the way the unit is laid out, it just starts lesson one. Boom, boom, boom,
Mhm.
boom.
mhm,
And
Mhm.
understand sometimes lessons take multiple days. And I think that's anybody who's going to be using a curriculum. But that's how, it's kind of first, kind of giving the kids some of that opportunity to sort of select and pick. Uh,
yeah.
and then
Mhm.
going from there.
Are
And
you
go ahead.
integrating, like, are you using the kits with your existing curriculum, or are these just separate things with you guys?
This is all new.
All right.
So we
Cool.
we are full in
Starting
with
from
Project
scratch.
Discovery and doing
Mhm.
it because,
Mhm.
like, what our one teacher, Mr. Mullins, he's the one who had been an alum here and all that. He has not totally gotten rid of all the stuff he'd used previously, but
Mhm.
it all matches with what he does now with this. Because some of what he did was like how to do a job interview, how to write a resume, how to ask
Mhm.
for a letter of reference, how to
Mhm.
write a lot of things that fall in line with that. And our dorm staff actually has picked up some of the life ready lessons, and they've used some of those over in the dorm because some of
Right.
Mhm.
those are more of like those life skill
Yeah,
type
yeah,
things.
definitely.
And so they've picked up and used some of those. But about the only person that's maybe blended together would be Mr. Mullins, just because that was his area of focus for
Yes.
years,
Mhm. Mhm.
was careers and how to get a job and how to find that right. He's about the
Mhm.
only one, and but really it's blending his knowledge with what this already existed, what we bought.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's sometimes, it just kind of gives a teacher like that who's been doing it all on their own. It gives them some other ways that they can kind of interject
Mhm.
other pieces. I've had teachers like
Mhm.
that tell me, well, it's really about that practice. So if I've got given them the how to go on a job interview once, well, now here they've got another a set of activities
Mhm.
to just try it from different angles because one hit it doesn't work, right? Like one size
Right,
doesn't fit all. What
right.
you need to kind of have so high interest, low skill level, and a
Mhm.
lot on that kind of horizontal level where you can keep digging in at that one level without
Mhm.
doing the same exact thing over and over.
Right, over
You're
and over
doing
again. Mhm.
similar things and
Mhm.
they're all going towards that same goal. Um, Another question that popped up before were what are you hearing from parents? Have you had any parents who've commented on some of
I'll admit we really haven't, that I've heard.
uh-huh.
Um, I, um, I know the kids, I know I saw one mom at dismissal one day on a Friday, and she was excited about because they were going to do some cooking, and
Mm,
it was around one of the cooking kits.
mm,
And so she was excited for that. But that's something we do in ECC to a degree, anyways. It's not all we do in ECC, I promise you.
mhm.
But not a ton. No, I'm sorry. I really don't have a lot. We have not done like a reach out for parents to get their insights and if their kid has talked about it.
Well,
Mhm.
you
Good
said
thought. Something I can add.
yeah, you can
Yeah.
reaching out to your foundations and other kinds of
Mhm.
supportive groups. I mean, I've heard from one story I'll share about a parent's comment was that they had suggested they thought, well, my son really loves cars. Anything that has to do with cars, that's going to be the hook. Yes, yes, yes. And while that student was working on the small engine repair kit, which actually comes with a real
With
life
a
working
small
small
engine.
engine that you
Yeah.
can do things to like
Yeah.
change oil, change spark plugs. When it came to actually doing those things, this boy didn't like getting his hands dirty with oil
Mhm.
and stuff. And the parent was like, and like, yeah, but it's all got to fit for
Mhm.
your student. They may love
Mhm.
cars, great. You can drive around in
Mhm.
the car all day. You can let them watch NASCAR or, participate in other ways and learn about things, but it may not be where
Mhm.
that student is going to want to work as a
Right. Right.
career.
Yep.
And I suppose some things may also be the same when it comes to like animal care, because
Mhm.
a lot of jobs in a veterinarian's office that are not necessarily really pleasant, and
Mhm.
yet we need people to do them.
Right. That's
We
Yep.
right.
need people to do them, and that's, you just kind of
Mhm.
keep moving with it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
Well, I loved it. There was a lot of great
Yeah.
information in here. And Braille Blaster, that was the one thing that you had just mentioned before. You can kind
That's
of
very true.
can you save
Mhm.
things with the Braille Blaster so that we can say, here are materials that were just converted from Microsoft Word to Braille Blasters for this animal care kit and save them all like in the same folder or something. So
Potentially, but that's something I think a good discussion to have with you all, with education associates is because
Mhm.
you could, there's other routes to pursue. And
yeah.
it might
Mhm.
even be going through APH and seeing if it's worth having them create
Mhm.
all of the items ready to
Mhm,
go, already in a
mhm.
binder, boom, here, right? I mean, that's
Mhm.
so, but that's a
Yeah.
decision beyond me.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about putting it all like on a Google Drive, because you can take all of the content that was in the
Right.
course and you can put
Mhm.
it on your Google
Since you're
Drive for that,
mhm.
let's say, animal care course or whatever it was.
Mhm.
And anything that you did to really personalize it for your teachers, your students, and so forth, you just save
Mhm.
them there. So next year, well, we're going to do animal care again. It's
Mhm.
March. We're doing it again. Here we go.
Mhm.
And you could always go back and dig into that. So very good.
How are your teachers feeling about the product and, how the kids are interacting with it? Are they finding good success with using it with the kids and I mean, was it
Yeah.
easy? Sometimes introducing something new, it's like pulling teeth to get kids to do things. Are they finding it
This
easy?
is so real world. I think it's an easy sell.
Mm,
Mm,
It's about jobs. It's about going and doing. It's something different,
mhm.
right? It's not reading class again or math class again. I'm
Right,
sorry, but
right. Yeah.
it is about competing for their attention at times.
yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
And this is something new, and so it is interesting.
Mm,
And it's good discussions, and
mm,
it's just finding neat ways to pull maybe unique sort of pieces in. Talking about like following directions. I was upstairs in a class a while back, and they actually showed um, the Wizard's Apprentice, the Mickey Mouse cartoon,
yeah,
and
yeah.
talk about how he didn't follow the directions he was told, put the hat on, and boy, what did that lead to? Right? And the cartoon had audio descriptions over it, so the kids understood kind of what was going on. But even those kind of things just spark interest.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You take this one thing, and I'm going to add another piece to it about directions and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's awesome. That's great.
And
yeah,
and
but
and that just makes me think as well. Like I asked the opposite question before. I said you find out things that kids really don't like to do. But what you just said sparks in my head. You find out things that even the students didn't know they'd be interested in.
yeah,
And they're like,
right.
and I could just see it because I did a vocational ed program when I was in high school, and I was kind of an attitude first kind of kid. And I was like, oh, why do I have to do that? I don't really. And then I found out that I really did like it. And it was believe it or not, it was in an ag mechanics class that I really decided, oh, I love getting my hands dirty and getting into an engine. So that's why that other story resonated with me, but it is both ways.
That's why I put that first question there. Why did you choose this current profession, this position?
Mhm.
Because it is about so often, yes, you hear about things, but if you can have more knowledge about it, you're going to make a better decision.
Hmm.
And I
Right.
think that's what project discovery can do a lot of.
Mhm.
And I even think about my own student who's a sophomore in college now and has a major, but he's not quite sure what he's going to do with it.
Mm.
And he's exploring and he's trying things on, seeing what fits. But even in high school, he really didn't have those
Mm.
opportunities shared about a true career,
Right.
Right.
and I think it's really going to benefit our kids in the long term.
Yeah, for sure.
This year is just we're figuring it out, we're starting it. The kids are still liking it, they're enthused, but it's the payoff will come down the road.
Yeah, for
Sure.
sure.
Right? One
Mhm.
generation plants the tree, the next enjoys the shade.
There you go.
Oh,
There
there
you
you
go.
go.
Mhm.
We did have a question from Bernadette on the side. You asked, what is the cost of the kits? And I know that's nothing, Michael, that you want to answer, but I'll just give a blanket answer for everybody because the I think the cool part about this is that these kits are a one-time purchase.
Mhm.
So when you have them, and they
Mhm.
become part of your library. And a
Mhm.
lot of things today are all subscription based, and
Mhm.
you get that. I have things that show up on my checking account that my
Mhm.
daughters have signed up for like $9.99 a month forever, and I don't like. What is this one for? What is that one for?
Mhm.
You don't remember
Mhm.
after a while,
Mhm.
and you can't do that with a school budget. But yeah, we can give you specifics, and you can pick them out modularly, so you can get
Mhm.
just one thing over another.
Mhm.
It's not
Mhm.
everything at all as they're coming on through.
Mhm.
So we're happy to answer that question for you, Bernadette, or anybody else who's been in here. Michael, I always want to say thank you so much. Truly appreciate you coming in and helping us with this.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
eye-opening for everybody to
Yeah, for
see
sure.
what you've
Mhm.
been through, and we appreciate it so much. So I say thank you to everybody who has joined us for today. I want to give everybody a little bit of assistance in finding out where they can get some additional information. So our website is really like a resource library all by itself. And so if you want to take a look and preview things, you can get a preview packet,
Mhm.
which will look a little bit more like this. Sorry, Henri. Henri Cubby decides to talk because I've been quiet this whole time through, so he decided I'm talking to him. So sorry. But the preview packet will allow you to not only look at the content of the curriculum, but also listen to the natural audio, because
Mhm.
thing that has a voiceover was done by real human beings and not a computer audio.
Right.
That
Right.
kind of stuff, and see things
Mhm.
like the video modeling and other stuff that we have together.
Mhm.
Those are there for free. You can kind of get a look at them. We have a wonderful, all right, Chucky's going to say hello. We have a wonderful newsletter each month, and pro tip, right? I have a lot of administrators who will sign up for this, and then they forward it to their staff, because it will kind of recount what we do
Mhm.
during these webinars, which are so
Mhm.
informative. So it's really not a salesy kind of a newsletter, but an informative one. So it's an easy thing. It's at the bottom of each of our pages as we go on through. And if you want the chance to actually look at lessons and go through material and see what the content looks like, just contact us. We are here for you, and we've got a lot of different ways that you can meet up with us. We also have all of these webinars on our website, right? You can see right there in the middle, Webinar Wednesday. So you can go on in and you can listen back in time and see some of these are really very interesting, and they become a real collector's item. Here's another pro tip. In January of this year and also last year, I did kind of a year in review. So if you don't have a lot of time, you could go to the January episode and you can go ahead and you'll see a little snippet of each of last year's webinars as well. And then if one really resonates with you, you can go back and listen to that whole thing. So that's kind of neat as well. And so that's when you can register for them at any time. You know that already. Oh, and last but not least, the resources we have on the website are really rich because it will help you with an alignment to the different types of funding that are available that you can use for these types of adoptions and purchases and so forth. And like I said, you can get them one at a time, or like the Kentucky School for the Blind did, you can get them all at once. That was like probably Christmas in July, I bet it felt like.
Yeah.
It felt like something.
Yeah, I was when you were talking about the pallets. There are 64 boxes per pallet. So when you say you got 14 boxes, you got a
14
lot
pallets.
of stuff.
Yes.
14 pallets.
Yeah,
Pallet.
14
Yes.
pallets, 64
Yes.
boxes for
It was
each.
spring break last year. Now I think
Yeah,
about it, spring
it
break.
was a lot. It was
So
a
that was
lot.
spring break.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we also provide that shelving. So that
Yeah,
shelving you saw
yeah.
in the pictures, we provide that for
Yep.
you. And we're lucky because you guys are in Louisville where our home office is. So we were able to, really help and, get things set up for you. But we're willing to do that with anybody, regardless of where you are. We're always willing to, sit down, look at pictures, video, walk through it, have you, say, this is the space I have. But definitely, like Michael suggested, having a dedicated space to it
Yeah.
will encourage your teachers to come and use it because
Yeah.
it's organized. They know they can easily find it. And do you find, Michael, that Google Doc check in, check out kind of thing works really well for your team?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's people are used to it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one's gonna be that one year to year, which
Mm-hmm.
kits have been used.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. And my door will be open. Emails there. Folks can reach out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We
Awesome.
we so appreciate it, Michael. You put
Yes,
a lot of
indeed.
time and energy into this. We appreciate that.
Mhm.
Felisa, as always, truly appreciate you and everybody who spent their time with us today. There's a whole lot of folks
Indeed.
online here. Thank you for what you do for our kids out there who are very, very special and really
Mhm.
need some of this personalization every day.
Every day.
So we
Mhm.
appreciate you all so much. So I want to say thanks again, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day. Hope this heavy duty winds and everything else that's been going on in the country. Hopefully that will end soon.
Calm down.
All of us be safe. Okay. Take care now. Thank you very much. All right. And I can come here and stop it all. It will work for us. Very good. All right. Thank you so
Nice.
much once again. Have a
Yeah.
great day.
Yep, it's awesome.